we're now recording. And share the screen. All right, so we have one last section in preparation for the test, which is section 9.9. As you can see, this is our longest chapter. It's been a long time since we've had a test, actually, as you can see. Okay, and the last two tests aren't going to be as long. Looks like chapter 4 is not as long, and the last, I mean, not chapter 4, the fourth test is not as long, and the fifth test is not as long either. So this looks like our longest in terms of material. Okay. So let's go look at our calendar again. So we are here. Right, so exam next time. So I'll repeat myself again. Yes, I know a lot of you say the same thing over and over. Again, that's intentional. First of all, not everybody hears it every time because not everybody's there all the time. Some people miss or some people come late. And that way there really hopefully should be no excuse for anybody to say, I didn't know the rules, because I said it so many times. Right, so the exam is this Thursday. Okay, and then after that, we're a week off. So everybody have a nice spring break after that. Okay, so coverage is just this 9.1 to 9.9. You also have to submit this homework. So I will take homework right after class today. So that's my usual rule. I'll take homework as soon as we finish the day before a test, you can submit the homework. So if you want to submit the homework right after class ends today and you already have it ready, that's fine. But the latest you may submit it is half an hour after our exam ends. Okay, so on Thursday, I'll let you start off with questions and answers, but you can have that today also. Again, we'll finish very early today. That's by design. This would not take that long. And then you can ask questions today, and hopefully that'll give you more time for the test on Thursday. Okay, so again, for ground rules on Thursday, there's no new material. I'm not going to start on chapter 10 or anything like that. Right when class starts at 4:40 up until a maximum of 5 o'clock, you may ask questions. So you can take all the way up to 5 o'clock, or if you have no questions, we can just start right away. Then I'll project the exam on my overhead here on my document camera, but I'll also send it via Canvas announcements because that might be a little bit better for you. Okay, and a reminder, during the exam, I need your camera on. So that's the only time I insist that your camera's on with a true background, no Golden Gate Bridge or anything special. And keep yourself muted. If you have any questions during the test, don't unmute yourself, just put it in the chat. And if you finish early, you can leave early. I tend to give about 10 questions. So looks like this is, one question per section, and then maybe a few more on top of that. Okay, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sections. So there's probably one question for each section and then a couple more after that, I suppose. Okay, show all your work. If you're in doubt as to, should I show work or not work, do it like we did it in class. Okay, so if you see how I did stuff in class, do it the same way. And if you're not sure how I did it in class, you have all the videos, right? Every single video is available. All over here, that should be fine. And Thursday, I won't bother calling row. I got plenty of time to call row. I'll just look at your faces while you're taking the test. I mean, think of the equivalence if we were meeting face-to-face, right? If we were meeting face-to-face on a test, I wouldn't call the row. That is a waste of time. I got plenty of time to call the row or look at the row without calling people's names. So don't wait for me to call the row on Thursday. You want to focus on just taking the test, right? All right, so that's what's going to happen there. So again, questions are just like the homework. So if you can do this, you should be okay on the test. I don't give any trick questions. I don't give any surprise questions. You should know that from the first couple of tests. And so if you can do all of this, you should be fine on the test. If you finish early, you can leave early. And then, once you're done, just like the quiz, get out your cell phone, click, 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 take pictures on your cell phone, then email it to me. Okay, and again, our class will end on Thursday as our usual ending time, which is what, 5:55. Okay, so I'll close the Zoom at 5:55, and then you have until 6 o'clock to submit the test, and then another half an hour, 6:30, to submit the homework. But again, if you want to submit the homework early, if you have it early ready, that's perfectly fine too. Okay. And you're allowed one cheat sheet. So again, if you haven't already put together a formula sheet, put together your formula sheet. One standard size 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, front and back. And of course, you can use a calculator, but after that, no other books, no notes, no people, no computers, no internet, no cell phone, nothing else that you can use for the test, right? And so that's the way the test will work. Okay, I see a lot of stuff in the chat. I'm guessing some of it is attendance, but if you have other general questions, go ahead and bring that up. Okay, 9.8 is not going to be on the test because it's not on the homework, correct? So nothing on 9.8. Okay, if you join late, go ahead and put in the chat. I'll get it. What part is tested? Everything here is free game, right? And correct, no 9.8. And let's see, came late. Okay. The questions be divided by section somewhat. So the questions will be like, how should I say, chronological, I guess. So the first question should be from 9.1 and 9.2, and then the last one should be 9.9. So it's going to somewhat be in order, if that's what you mean. Okay. Are there a few sections that will have more questions? Well, there's got to be, if I give 10 questions and there's only 8 sections. So how about pretend there's one question from every section and then, well, put it this, there was one section that was on product root and quotient root, right? So I'm almost for sure going to ask you one product root. I'm almost for sure going to ask you one quotient root, right? So whichever section was on product root, quotient root, I'm usually going to give you, something like that. We have to derive the long way or power root. Okay, so you're pretty much going to be allowed to use all the derivative shortcuts if that's what you mean, for the most part. Okay, way at the beginning we had some limits. You have to evaluate some limits and continuous functions from pictures. So that was definitely there also. Okay, and let me check what else is in the chat. I think I've caught up. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. You can go ahead and put questions in the chat if you want, but let me knock this out again. It will not take that long. And then if you have any questions after that about any of this material, then you can feel free to do that. So as usual, I will do the evens in my book, which again may not match your book, but we'll see how it goes. So 9.9, 1 through 4 odd, 9 through 18, the odd. So let me show you what it is in my text. As usual. So yeah, even now, if you want to ask me questions from previous sections, you are allowed to. I may have to ask you what the question is in your book, though, because it may not match my book. Okay, so 9.9. The main topic is marginal. Can you guess what marginal means? Derivative, right? She's just taking the derivative. Okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then what, 9 through 18 should be very straightforward. Okay, so there's 9 through 16. I think you can see that. Then some word problems, 17 and 18. Well, 18 continues over here. So there's that. Okay. All right, so let's get started. And let's see, there's something else in the chat. Okay, I think we're caught up. All right, so here we go. So if you can think of questions from any previous section, go ahead and think about them, or you can even start typing it in chat now if you wish. Okay. Question number 2, let me show you the wording. The revenue function for a product is R of X is 32X. What is the marginal revenue for the product? What does this mean? Okay, so marginal means derivative. So in this case, it's very easy. R of X is 32X. Marginal means derivative. What's the derivative of 32X? 32. So it simply means for each item that we sell, we have $32 in revenue. And that doesn't change for this particular revenue function. So if I sell one more item, I get $32 more. A very easy way to interpret that is that this thing costs $32. So if you sell one, I made $32. You sell two, I made another $32, and so on. Okay. Not every revenue function is that easy though. Okay, in real life, sometimes the revenue is dependent on other factors. Okay, a good example is number 4, where there's a variable function for the revenue. So 2 is actually extremely easy. Let's look at 4. Suppose the total revenue function is R of X is 25X minus 0.05X squared. Okay, A, find R of 50. I plug in 50. B, find the marginal revenue derivative. And this is a little bit awkward. If we were meeting face to face, I would hold this down on the document camera and I'd write on the board. But unfortunately, we can't do that now. So I can't show you both at the same time, unfortunately. So I'll just do the best I can. So I'm just reading all the questions first. C, find the marginal revenue at X equals 50. So I plug in 50 to my answer for B. And then it says, tell what it predicts about the sale of the next unit and the next 2 units. So that'll be a prediction for the marginal revenue for 1 more item. And then for 2 more items, I just multiply by 2. D, R of 51 minus R of 50. That is the true revenue of selling the 51st item. Okay. R of 51 means how much revenue do you have if you sell 51 items? R of 50 means what's the revenue if I sell 50 items? So if I subtract, you just get the 51st item. Okay, so that is officially the marginal revenue. Okay, it should be very close to what we get here. Okay, so I know I can't really show you both at the same time, and hopefully in your book it's similar. But here we go. Okay, R of 50, plug in 50. 25 times 50 minus 0.05, 50 squared. Okay, comes out to be 1125. Whoops. Okay, and let me actually try to punch that out to see if you double check that. So 25 times 50 minus 0.05 times 50 squared. 1125. 25 times 50 minus 0.05 is 50 squared. Okay, it asks for the interpretation. If we sell 50 items, the revenue is 1125. Part B asks for the marginal, which means derivative. Okay, so what's the derivative of this? That should be easy. Derivative of 25x is 25. Derivative of negative 0.05x squared, 2 times that is negative 0.1x. Okay, part C, they tell me to plug in 50. So 25 minus 0.1 times 50, that's a 50 there. You can see it easy if I raise it up. So that's 25 minus 5, which is $20, the marginal revenue. Okay, so it asks for the interpretation. If we sell 1 more unit, we should earn about $20 more. If we sell 2 more units, well, double it. We should earn about $40 more. Right? That's what the marginal gives me. Now, what about part D? It said R of 51 minus R of 50. Okay, that's the actual revenue of the 51st item. If I take the total revenue of selling 51 items, subtract the total revenue for 50 items, what's the difference? Well, here I have 51 items, here I have 50 items. So the difference would be just the 51st item. It's just one item, but it's the 51st item. So that's the actual revenue of the 51st item. Okay, so I plug in 51 to the original. 51 goes there, 51 goes there. Okay, so it's 25 times 51 minus 0.05, 51 squared. Okay, that comes out to be 1144.95. Okay, and let me try to show that on your calculator here. Let me type that in. 25 times 51 minus 0.05 times 51 squared, 1144.95. So R of 51 minus R of 50. The revenue for 51 items is 1144.95. The revenue after 50, we found that back here, 1125. Subtract $19.95. Okay, 1144.95 minus 1125. That is the true revenue of the 51st item. But you can see how clumsy this was, right? It's not easy to plug in to the calculator here, 1144.95. It's not easy to plug in the calculator here, 50. Where'd it go? Here, 1125, and then subtract 1995. It was much, much faster to find the marginal, and we were pretty close. We got $20. Okay, $20, 1995. We were off by a nickel. Okay, so the nice thing about having the marginal is you can sometimes get real close to the actual difference, but the calculation is much, much easier, as you can see. Okay. All right, so that's that. Okay. Then 9 through 18, you have a cost function, C. Sometimes they put C of X, sometimes just put C, it's the same thing. Find the marginal cost. It's just a derivative, folks. It's very simple. It looks like they're all polynomials. Doesn't look like there's any product rule, no quotient rule, no chain rule. They're all very easy polynomials, I think. Okay. And then there aren't any more word problems until 17 and 18. Okay, so we'll knock those off and then we're done. Okay, so 9 and 10. So here's 10. C of X is 200 plus 16x. What's the derivative of 200 plus 16x? Derivative of 200 is 0. Derivative of 16x, 16. So C prime of X equals 16. And again, a reminder for the test, because I might mark off for this, you should give me a derivative symbol if you are taking the derivative. Don't just put equals. So if you put 200 plus 16x equals 16, that's not a true statement, right? Show it to any Algebra 1 student, right? Say 200 plus 16x, that's not equal to 16. You're right. Now I know what you did. You took a derivative. Okay, so you give me a derivative symbol like C prime of X or dy dx or, you know, something like that. All right. 12. C of X is 300 plus 10x plus 1 over 100 x squared. So what's the derivative of the whole thing? Again, it's a sum rule. Derivative of this plus the derivative of this plus the derivative of this. Derivative of 300, 0, it's constant. Derivative of 10x, 10. Linear. Derivative 1 over 100 x squared, 2 comes down, hits the 1 over 100. 2 times 1 over 100 is 1/50th x to the 1, and if it's x to the 1, you just put x. So 10 plus 1/50th x is my cost function. Okay. All right, 14. C is 0.1 x cubed minus 1.5 x squared plus 9x plus 15. So the derivative of the whole thing is derivative of this minus derivative of this plus the derivative of this plus the derivative of this. So what's the derivative of this? 0.3 x squared, right? What's the derivative of negative 1.5 x squared? 2 times negative 1.5, negative 3 x to the 1, and if it's x to the 1, you just put x. Plus derivative of 9x, 9. Plus the derivative of 15, 0. So you don't have to put the plus 0. You're done. Okay. All right, 16. C of x is 50 plus 48x plus x cubed. What's the marginal? Marginal means derivative. Okay. What else is derivative? Instantaneous rate of change, velocity, slope of the tangent line. Right? It's not really any mystery. This whole chapter is derivative. So if you see any of those funny expressions, you shouldn't say, I wonder what I should do. This whole chapter, you're just taking a derivative, right? Okay, what's the derivative of 50? 0. 48x, 48, plus derivative of x cubed, 3x squared. Okay. Believe it or not, folks, it's barely 5 o'clock or a little past. I'm already down to the last question, 18, although it's not that short. It's a word problem, so it's a little bit longer, but I'll be done in 5 minutes or so. Okay, and then you can ask questions, and if there aren't any questions, we're done. Okay, but again, I encourage you to ask questions today, so that just saves you more time next time. You know, I don't want to prevent anybody from asking questions next time, but I mentioned, you know, if you ask all the questions you want today, then maybe we can start earlier next time, and then, you know, you have more time to do the test. Okay, so we're down to the last problem, 18. Let's see what that is. Suppose the cost function for a commodity is C of X is blah, 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 blah. Hey, find the marginal. What do? Derivative. At X equals 8, plug in 8. And tell us what this predicts about the cost of producing one additional unit. The cost of producing one additional unit will be whatever that marginal comes out to be. Okay. Part B, sort of like the other one, calculate C of 9 minus C of 8. That's the actual cost of producing one additional unit for the marginal, but it's a lot harder to compute that. Okay, so I have to go back and plug in 9 to the original. Might be a little clumsy. Plug in 8 to the original and then subtract. The marginal is usually much, much faster. Okay. All right, so 18, here was the original function. Cost function C of X is 300 plus 6X plus 1/20th X squared. So the marginal means derivative. So derivative of 300 is 0. Derivative of 6X is 6. Derivative of 1/20th X squared. 2 times 1/20th is 1/10 X. Now they tell me to plug in 8. So 6 plus 1/10 times 8, $6.80. What is the interpretation? The cost of producing the next unit or the 9th unit is about $6.80. Very fast. Take a derivative, plug in 8. So we anticipate the difference between the cost of producing 8 units and the cost of producing 9 units is about $6.80. Doesn't have to be exact, but it's very close. Now, part B actually does not require calculus, but it's way more work. Okay. So for part B, calculate C of 9 minus C of 8. Again, what does that mean? C of 9 is the cost of producing 9 units. C of 8 is the cost of producing 8 units. So if I subtract, I get just the 9th item. It's only one item. It's one item, but it's the 9th item. Okay, so I plug in 8 to the original. You can see it's very clumsy. I plug in 9 to the original, and then I subtract. Okay, so C of 8. So put 8 right here, 8 right here. Okay, by the way, if you're fuzzy about a lot of stuff, put it on your formula sheet. Okay, you're allowed to put sample problems on your cheat sheet. Okay, remember you get one 8.5 by 11 front and back. sheet of paper, and a calculator. But after that, no other books, no notes, no people, no internet, no computers, no cell phones, and so on, right? Okay, so I plugged in 350, can't even read my own writing, $351.20. Okay, maybe to double check, let me actually just punch this out since I have time. So 300 plus 6 times 8, well, I know 6 times 8 is 48. I don't need to calculate for that. Plus 1 divided by 20 times 8 squared. Well, I know 8 squared is 64. So I'm typing it in like this. 300 plus 48 plus 1/20th times 8 squared. I know that's 64. 351.20. Okay, then plug in 9 right there and right there, right? So 300 plus 6 times 9 plus 1/20th times 9 squared. So that's 300 plus 6 times 9 is 54, right? So I'll just put 354 plus 1 divided by 20 times 9 squared. I know 9 squared is 81. So I'm doing 354 plus 1/20th of 81, 358.05. And there it is. Finally, I subtract that minus that. So 358.05, 358.05 minus 351.20, $6.85. So that's the actual difference in cost between the 8th and the 9th item. But you can see it's a lot clumsier to do all this. What did we get by the marginal? $6.80. Okay, so once again, we were off by only a nickel. Okay, so the marginal gives you something very quickly as to the cost of producing the next unit, but it's a lot faster than doing all of this stuff. Okay, folks, I'm done. So if you want to type in stuff in the chat for questions, you can. I'm just going to do my focusing thing real quickly. I see one thing in the chat. I'll get that. But otherwise, we're finished for today. And then just be ready for the test next time. And once class is over, you may begin sending the homework if you already have it. So just for focusing purposes. Okay, so let me raise this up again. Okay, you can ask questions next time also. Again, up until a limit of 6 o'clock, because I promise you in my syllabus 50 minutes. So that would be what, 6:05 to 6:55. We have to stop at 6 though, because it takes me 5 minutes to get set up and for you to get everything that you need and so forth. But if nobody asks questions right away, next time, then we won't bother. We'll just go straight to the test. And by the way, I wasn't planning on recording next time. So even if you ask questions, I wasn't recording. There's no need to record. We'll just go straight to the exam. And then we're off for a week. And there's everything there. Okay, so I think that's it. Okay, so I do see some things coming into the chat now. So let me get that. Again, the more questions you ask today, the less we have to worry about next time. Let me get my piece of paper here. Okay, so let's see. Okay, yeah, and if anybody just joined, if you just joined, late, put your name, and so I can get you for attendance. I'll mark you as late, but okay, gotcha. Sections 9.1 to 9.9, yes, except for 9.8. So the test is next class. Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean by 100%. So there's no new material. Okay, so the only thing we're happening next time is I'll take questions from 5:40 to 6 o'clock at the latest. So the earliest we'll start is 5:40, meaning nobody has any questions. And the latest is there's a lot of questions and we start at 6 o'clock after that. Okay. And let me check what else in the chat. Anybody else that missed attendance, put your name in the chat now. Otherwise, I'll mark you as absent. And let's see. Yeah, 4:40. Did I say 5:40? Yeah, 4:40. I'm used to the previous time. So Yeah, yeah, the last time I taught the class, it was an hour later. So yeah, you're right. 5 o'clock is what I meant. So 4:40 is when we start, not 5:40. I'm used to it starting at 5:40. So yeah, sorry, 4:40. The earliest we start is 4:40, meaning nobody has questions. The latest is 5 o'clock. And that way you have until what, 5:55 to take the test. Okay, and I think I've caught up. So yeah, so any other questions? I think I've cleared the chat. Any other questions? Otherwise, we're done. And I'll see you next time. You can ask questions next time, but otherwise we'll go straight to the test. Okay, anybody else with a question, please? Anybody else I need to get for attendance? Let me know. All right, I don't see anything or hear anything, so we're finished, folks. All right, so have a good afternoon. You may start sending the homework if you already have it ready, and be ready for the test next time. All right, okay, have a good night, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
you.
you.